Welcome to the Mukilteo Football Show. My name is Miles. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills destroy the Jacksonville Jaguars 47-10. Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders shock the Cincinnati Bengals in the jungle 38-33. Monday Night Football doubleheader. The reports of the demise of the position of quarterback have been over-exaggerated, because this was a fun night to watch quarterback play, especially Josh Allen and Jayden Daniels. Joe Burrow wasn't bad either, but it's a Josh and Jayden show. And no, that's not a Nickelodeon program from 2010. This was great. This is week 3, 2024 NFL football. And I felt like this doubleheader was kind of going to be like the Bills playing the Bengals, you know, like competing simultaneously on who was going to be more impressive over the Commanders and over the Jaguars. And it did kind of start that way, you know. Josh Allen had a great touchdown to open the game. That one where Kincaid was rolling. Josh Allen was rolling right, and Kincaid comes along the back line of the end zone, and he's in a full sprint, and Josh Allen fires it in and hits him right on stride for that first touchdown of the game. You were just like, ooh, there's Josh Allen. And then when the Bengals game started, Joe Burrow, you know, a couple of handoffs, and all of a sudden they're on the 41-yard line. He's launching a bomb up to Jamar Chase, catches it perfectly in stride. Chase had burned his guy, and he just right to the pylon. 41-yard touchdown. You're thinking, oh, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, let's see some fireworks from these star quarterbacks. You know, people have been talking, oh, you know, poor quarterback play in the league this year, which I don't really subscribe to that. You know, I honestly think it's kind of more rose-tinted glasses about what you think the past was. You know, like I hear so many guys like, man, we used to have Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, all in their primes, right with Phillip Rivers and Roethlisberger, Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford, Eli Manning, you know, Andrew Luck was coming up, Russell Wilson, Cam Newton. Like, you're naming off all these names, but you forget the week-to-week experience. You forget Eli Manning in week 9 sometimes, or Drew Brees check down central, or a game where Brady only throws 1 touchdown. Those happened. You know, like, I think we're just kind of thinking like every week was like a feast of amazing quarterback performances. It's not that big a difference, but it has been a down statistical year. There was only 9 300-yard games through 3 weeks this year. Last 10 years have averaged 21 300 passing yard games. So we are in a weird pendulum moment. You know, I've talked about this before, but we're in the age where running the ball actually might be okay, because defenses have gone so far towards stopping the pass. You used to say about a defense, they're a bend but don't break defense. You used to say that. Now it's like you don't say that because it's so obvious. They're all bend but don't break. Sure, run the ball for 4 yards of carry. We don't care. All we want to do is stop the big play forever. That's all we care about. And then we'll stop you in the red zone, hopefully. That is defense now. That's Vic Fangio. That's Brandon Staley. That's what changed the NFL. That's been the hot defense. But this was nice. Get some pop, get some sizzle, rinse out the narrative of quarterbacks aren't playing good anymore. Like, that's just gone. And it'll be Josh Allen's stat line will always be there. You know, amazing 263 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, hit 44 yards on the ground, including some slides. Thank you, Josh Allen. Take care of yourself, man. The goal is a Super Bowl. Not an MVP, not a 12-0 record. Super Bowl, man. You got to get there. It's a long haul. That stat line would be impressive from Josh Allen. But this is Jayden Daniels' night. Thank you, Josh Allen, for just blowing out the Jaguars so that we could kind of just turn our attention to the Bengals Commanders. Like, the Bills were up 35-3 at the first half. Jaguars, who cares? Who's going to coach Trevor Lawrence next year? And does it matter? The guy has 60 touchdowns in 53 games. 60 touchdowns in 53 starts. That's too big of a sample size to ignore at this point. Trevor Lawrence, dude. Who cares? But we pivot to the Bengals Commanders, and which Joe Buck added was a full, full meal. Like, we had no punts, no turnovers. We were just getting these back and forth offensive drives, most surprisingly, from the team you would have joked can't score touchdowns because they kicked 7 field goals last week. The Commanders start with the first half with 3 long touchdown drives. 70 yards, 62 yards, 72 yards. And by the way, added 2 more big long touchdown drives in the second half. Exact opposite of what you would have said about them 5 hours ago. That's football, baby. Jayden Daniels he made himself a star tonight. I was impressed, and I have been doubting Jayden Daniels. I've even, in the previews, I even said, don't be surprised if Jayden Daniels and Bo Nix have some good games, because they got to play 20 more college football games that no other rookies did. These are 6 years, 7th year, not 7th, but they played 6 years in college football. They should be better. This was still something even more than that. It was just good. And it wasn't even just about the stat line. Every third down, every big moment, Jayden Daniels made a play to quiet the Cincinnati jungle. The Bengals are 0-2. You're expecting to win week 3. And it just seemed like no matter what, Jayden Daniels was on the move. Always. The screen passes were working. There's some Bengals defense criticism here. Like, they just couldn't tackle. They controlled Pat Mahomes last week. But this time they had no answers for these short passes. The tackling was horrific. Screens are working in a way you just don't see in the NFL. And I don't know what happened. Maybe it was a quirky game plan by Kingsbury, or they just underestimated Jayden Daniels or accounted too much for Jayden Daniels' rushing ability. I don't know. But Big Lou and the Cincinnati Bengals defense took a huge L today. Because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they were cooking. 2 big bomb touchdowns. And the run game for the Bengals was decent. They didn't abandon it. Even after they were continued to be down by 2 possessions, they kept running the ball, getting points. Honestly, the Joe Burrow offense played the same as they have always played across the good years. But typically, the good years for Joe Burrow and the Bengals have involved really good defense. Turnovers, big stops. They had 26 points at one point. That's enough usually to beat. Like, that would have beat the Chiefs last 2 times they played. They went to the Super Bowl and scored 26 points. They really struggled today. And that's not to discount Jayden Daniels. People, they're throwing out the 90% completion percentage. That part I do discount. They're screen passes, dude. Most of them were screen passes. Now, some of them weren't. And those are the ones that raised my eyebrows. But like the completion percentage in one game, I throw that out. That's not what impressed me. What impressed me was his bombs to Terry McLaurin. And it's funny because one of the incompletions early on, Jayden Daniels only had 2 incompletions. One of them was a deep shot to McLaurin, or at least an intermediate shot to McLaurin that went way over his head. And you could see the frustration bubbling through McLaurin, through Dan Quinn, through Kingsbury, and Jayden Daniels himself, of course. They remember they only had field goals last week. But then They finish that drive with a touchdown, a rushing touchdown, or maybe that was the one he threw his first career touchdown to the offensive lineman. Gold. They come back the next drive. Jayden Daniels hits McLaurin for a 50-50 or 55-yard teardrop right down the seam. Was almost a touchdown, put him within the 5-yard line. That was impressive. And then that final play, the game sealing play. The Bengals brought it within 5 with the second Jamar Chase touchdown. The Commanders are driving the rest of the fourth quarter. I think so. Jamar Chase's touchdown was like 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Commanders drained 7 minutes on their way towards like the 30-yard line. They were moving slowly. They overcame multiple false starts. First and 15s. They were sacked on one of those first and 15s. Finally, it's 3rd and 7. We're about 2 minutes, 30 seconds in the game. A first down would set up a really important field goal and some clock management. But Jayden Daniels drops back. A Bengals defensive end right in his face. He takes a huge hit, but he gets that ball up in the air. The arc on that ball was sky high. And he drops it in the bucket on the sideline, right in the end zone for Terry McLaurin. It was pass interference from the Bengals, but they didn't call it. But who cares? McLaurin caught it. That was an eyebrow play. Completion percentage, sure, whatever. That play, that got my eyebrows up. And you got to think, the awards are stupid, but you got to think, in terms of describing the narrative of the season, Jayden Daniels is the Rookie of the Year favorite tomorrow morning by quite a bit. And Josh Allen is the MVP favorite tomorrow morning by quite a bit. They both put on a show tonight. And it was fun. We got a Monday night doubleheader next week as well. Mukilteo Football Show. The show is football everything, NFL history, legacy, ups and downs of a season. We've got shows Sunday, Monday, and Thursday after the primetime games. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Okay, I went a little longer on the opener than I was going to, but hey, we got 7 minutes here. I want to talk about the other 3-0 teams. So we talked about the Bills, they're 3-0. Talked about the Chiefs yesterday, they're 3-0. Check out yesterday's show for the review of Chiefs-Falcons. We also talked Ravens, Cowboys there, and Eagles-Saints. But these other 3-0 teams, some interesting ones. And, 3-0 doesn't necessarily mean as much as it intuitively means. I feel like people pay the most attention to the first 3 weeks. That's the most eyeballs on football until it's like AFC Champions Super Bowl time. So 3-0 in this time period is really memorable. But it is fickle. I mean, the Dolphins are 3-0 last 2 years. Who cares? They're at the top of the power rankings, yet they had really no impact on the playoffs, and no one expected them to by that point. And, I mean, we're only, 3 years removed from 2021 when we had the Teddy Bridgewater Broncos at 3-0. We had the John Gruden Raiders at 3-0 before, his emails were released. We had the Sam Darnold Panthers at 3-0, all in 2021. So, take it all with a grain of salt. But we got to talk these unexpected 3-0 teams, and we have 2 minutes to talk about each one. The Minnesota Vikings, 3-0. The Sam Darnold Minnesota Vikings, 3-0, after beating Week 2's darlings, the Houston Texans, in a pretty significant way. This was a huge fun on 2 fronts. One, Sam Darnold. He's got 8 touchdowns now, leading the league. 8 passing touchdowns, leading the league. We're all still a little skeptical because he was 3-0 with the Panthers. He had some good runs with the Jets. We're kind of all waiting on that 4th game. That 4th game. But the 8 touchdowns is new. When you start talking about Sam Darnold's surprisingly hot start for the 3rd time in our lives, you've got much more be real packaging, as the ESPN analyst talks, we're watching a lot of different touchdowns from Sam Darnold as they wax poetic about his start. That wasn't the case with the Panthers. Only like 3 touchdowns. They had to keep showing those same 3 touchdowns over and over. And something that Minnesota Viking Sam Darnold has, that Panther Sam Darnold didn't have, and that Jet Sam Darnold didn't have, is Justin Jefferson. Just a friendly reminder that guy's freaking good. But the other thing for the Vikings is the Brian Flores defense. And, a lot of people are telling me that it's really good. I can't really figure out exactly why it's good. Like, even when I watch like the experts, they're like, it's basically pretending not to play with 2 high safeties, or quote unquote safeties, 2 high players, but you always get there somehow. I don't know. But Flores is dominating. And after beating the Shanahan 49ers and now the Slowick Texans and CJ Stroud, the Vikings should be very excited. If Sam Darnold continues and Brian Flores really does have the defense of the year, playoffs are a sure thing. Now, I'm much less excited about the other 2 teams. The other unlikely 3-0 team is the Justin Fields Pittsburgh Steelers. And they were 3-0 just recently in 2020. They were 11-0 in 2020. No one took them seriously. That was, I think, Roethlisberger's final year, or second to last year. They get the 3rd win. It was a Steelers versus Chargers. I feel like Jim Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin both like voluntarily elected to be in a 1990s throwback game. Run the ball. All the linebackers have neck rolls. It's Stan Humphries versus Neil O'Donnell. I liked the game. I liked watching it. Justin Fields didn't impress me specifically. Still looks like a rookie out there, even though it's his 41st game. But he's in a much better situation. His quick to run and his inconsistency, he's kind of been reined in, leaning on a good defense. I think that's something Justin Fields can do. The real lasting impact of that game, honestly, is that the Chargers, like, rolling Herbert out there on a high ankle sprain, and, mild-mannered, well-meaning, yes, sir, whatever you say, sir, Justin Herbert played, and, the Chargers might have ruined their season. We'll see how that goes. That doesn't seem like it's going to go away. It seems like it's going to be a story. But the Steelers, just their competition hasn't been great, and Justin Fields hasn't been great. It feels like we're still in the same type of regular Mike Tomlin season with the Steelers. It just happened to start 3-0. The Mike McDonald Seahawks are also 3-0. And I know, I'm a Seahawks fan. I don't talk enough about the Seahawks on the podcast. I just feel like, I don't know. It's just not, it feels like I get too invested. It's hardest for me to see the Seahawks. Because I'm a 90s Seahawks fan. I'm not a 2013 Seahawks fan. I loved 2013. That was fun. But I was rolling Rick Meyer into Joey Galloway, into Ricky Waters jerseys, even at the time of Ken Griffey Jr. and Gary Payton here in Seattle. Like, that means I carry a healthy pessimism that the Seahawks are even eligible for the Super Bowl. And this 3-0 start means like nothing to me. It's all about the defense. This whole season is about the Seahawks defense for me. And we know what Geno Smith is. We know that offense can be right in the middle of the pack. Geno is right with Sam Darnold. He can get success if he has a great defense. And I don't think we know if we have a great defense or not. Because we've played Bo Nix, Jacoby Brissett, and Skylar Thompson. You could not line up a more perfect slate of quarterback incompetence than that. And it was Bo Nix's first game. That's the absolute lowest ceiling of opponents. So I'm not going to get excited or even really think about the Seahawks 3-0 unless we beat the Lions on Monday or have a great showing. I'm excited for Mike McDonald. This means we're not in the cellar, but in terms of like playoff hopes and like, quasi Super Bowl contention, I'm not there. The 3-0 start doesn't do anything for me, but this is why it's hard for me to talk about the Seahawks. I'm not going to let myself believe. I believed with Marshawn and the Legion of Boom. I was like confident and cocky and swagger. But this one, let's beat someone besides Bo Nix, Jacoby Brissett, and Skylar Thompson. That's it. We'll be back Thursday to preview Week 4 with Kirk. See you then.